Hi, I'm Ken from Cadimage UK, and in this quick movie I'm going to take a look at how we can work with railings within Cadimage Stairs for ArchiCAD 18. First off, we have four types of railing. If I go to the railing tool, we can take a look. You'll see we have the plain handrail, so that has no supports. We have horizontal rails, we have panelled railings, and we also have timber railings with traditional newel posts and balusters. Depending which one we choose, we have different parameters available within this custom settings of the dialog box. I'll take a brief look at some of these as we're going through. If I look at these types as they're placed on plan, then they do look different, but it's kind of hard to tell really what is going on with these until we take a look at 3D. So here we can see the handrail, horizontal rails, the glass panel, and the traditional type. If I now take a look at a stair, because that's typically where railings are placed, we'll take this and we'll add a railing to it. And the process for that is pretty simple. We grab the arrow tool or hold down shift and click, but we select the stair that we want to place the railing on. All we do then is go to the Cadimage menu, stairs, and we only have two options. The third option is help, but we can place a railing or we can update a railing if we've been playing with the geometry of a stair. So if I go for place railing, the railing dialog appears because we can choose what type of railing we want to work with. So I'm going to go with the horizontal rails because that happens to be selected. We have a number of options here. We have general settings. We have settings for the handrail. I'm going to make some quick changes just so you can see differences. We can change the newels. Go for an extended post. We can then look at the intermediate posts. There are none at the moment. Let's go for two intermediates. 45mm wide. The rails themselves, let's change these to rectangular, 20 by 20, and what we'll do is increase the number from 4 to 6, and then the final part is the simple settings. So if we want to have the handrail thickness or the centre line visible, there's also options here for the brake height and what level it kicks in at, etc. The other thing to point out is if I go back to handrail, in most of these sections of the interface there are options here for the parameters for the surfaces. So the handrail, let's paint it to black, and there's also options here for the pens and colours for how this appears on plan and in section. I'll change the newels and we'll make these iron just for the sake of making a change. If I hit OK, the next thing that happens is the screen, it moved very slightly there, but if you zoom further away it's going to move further. What it does is zoom to the object. And then depending where you place the mouse, you've got the option to place the handrail here on the right hand side, here on the left hand side, or if you put the mouse towards the middle, on both sides. In this case, I only actually want the right hand side. So all I do is click and the handrail's placed. If I select this lot and have a look at 3D, you can see what we've actually created. So you can see the different materials, you can see how it's actually anchored, and what I can do is always pick up, drop back into the settings, and if I want to I can make some changes. So maybe under general, what we'll do is we'll put a volute on the bottom, and off that goes in updates to show these changes. You'll notice here that this particular stair is enclosed by a wall on this part of it, but this section's left exposed. So what I could actually do with that, if necessary, is place a railing manually. And the way we do that is just go to the railing tool. We choose what type of railing we want to work with. So I'm going to work with a panel rail in this case, just to make something a little bit different. So I'll place it on the end here. Can't actually do anything with it just now other than drag it around, rotate it. But what I'll do is go back into the settings and we'll take a look at the graphic editing, because the first option here is to insert nodes. So I'm not actually going to insert a node, but what I'm going to do is use these new hotspots to take this point here and stretch it up until it meets this wall at this end of the section of the stair. If I select the stair and the railing and go to 3D, we can see how it looks. So there's obviously a slight issue here because it doesn't quite come up to where I need it to be. But what I can do is select, pick up this base point, and I can just simply stretch it up until it joins to the correct tread number over here. So if we switch on the rest of the wall and the stairs, etc., you can see this now meets where it should actually meet. While on the subject of graphic editing, what I can also do is go back in and we can now switch. So rather than insert nodes, we can look at changing the arc or the curvature, and that allows us to do these sort of things. So that's not something I actually want to do in this case, but what I do want to do is switch on this option here, which is to edit the newels and the balusters. because what you'll see is I do have a baluster in the middle to break this into two panels, but it's not actually in the middle. So what I can do is pick that up, so just move it down into its new position, and if we look at the selection in 3D, you can see it's placed where I want it to be. So placing railings around things is actually fairly straightforward. If I revert back to the horizontal rails, I have some geometry over here that I can place a railing around. So I'll start by placing the first point here. And if I look at 3D, you can see what's created. So obviously I need to first of all take this whole thing and simply drag it up until it sits at this first part of the first landing. I drop back to 2D, switch on the option to insert nodes, graphic editing. What I can do is stretch the shape up to the maximum point here. I can then insert a node here and insert a further node down here. And again, if I select and look at 3D, we can then play with the shape. You'll see the points are in place here, but because of the parameters on the rails, I'm not actually seeing any posts yet. But if I pick up and stretch this node up to here, because I've changed the geometry, the various posts start to appear and give me the settings. And of course, as it's a standard object, I can always go back into the settings, change the railings, the posts, the balusters, the rails themselves, whatever needs to be done to make the changes appear. Final part to show is if I drop back in here and we're going to create a timber railing, but what I'll do is switch on edit the newels and balusters. What I can do is drop one in here, and with it selected, there's actually some options available on the newels and balusters themselves. So if I take this middle one, for example, what I can do is pick it up, and if I leave it in place, but use the options to spin around here so that we have a number 2 selected, what this will do is convert the baluster into a newel post. So you'll see it changes in size. If I take this one here, and we have the option then to leave it as a baluster. If I move to the right, we have the option there to physically remove the entire baluster. Or what I can do is just simply move these backwards and forwards to suit whatever the parameters are for the object or landing or whatever it is we're working with.